Hi, I'm Cayce. Welcome back. Today with Dr. Janna Bentley from Lakeshore Vein and Aesthetics, and we are going to be talking today about laser. Laser.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. This is something that I am completely don't know anything about, so I'm excited to talk to you about this
Yes.
and find out. I'm excited and I'm really nervous because these things are adding to my list.
Your list.
I need a job, Jim.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's begin. What is laser?
Okay, you're going to get me on this one. It's an acronym
Okay.
for light amplified simulated electron, resorption. So that's the scientific acronym for it. It has to do with energy and being applied to certain areas for certain desired outcomes. And so depending on what you're trying to target, you're going to have different energy sources that will go after what you're trying to treat.
So how important is the laser you're using?
It's everything.
Okay.
So if you think about, and this might get too scientific and stop me if it is, but you think of light.
Mm-hmm.
So visible light is a whole bunch of wavelengths. That's just wavelengths, photons of energy.
Right.
A whole bunch of them. That's what visible light is. A laser is going to be one wavelength.
Okay.
And have you ever noticed when you're wearing black?
All the time.
It is absorbed. It absorbs light.
Right.
White reflects.
Oh, yes, of course. Yep.
So if you're thinking about something, for example, like laser hair removal, hair follicles are dark.
Mm-hmm.
You want a wavelength that's going to be specifically absorbed by dark,
Got you.
sparing the skin.
Right.
So if you have a wavelength that is particularly well absorbed by a dark color like a hair follicle, then the laser is going to spare the skin and go after the hair follicle.
Okay. So what can laser treat for hair removal? We're everywhere.
So alluding to hair removal, which this is near and dear to my heart. It's ridiculous, but I think a lot of women would identify with this. It's a big deal. Like if someone says to you, hey, let's go swimming, let's go in a hot tub, and you're like, I gotta go prepare myself. Laser hair removal works very well for those parts of your body that you shave usually.
Yes.
And it is permanent hair reduction.
Okay.
So most importantly, and we need to talk more about this, but you want a contrast between the hair follicle color and the skin because we want it to spare the skin and target the hair follicle.
Okay.
So dark hair works the best.
Works the best.
Yes.
And that will in turn add to the longevity. Now, is this permanent or is this something that you have to continuously treat, or how many?
It is permanent hair reduction. So you will need touch-ups probably forever as long as it matters to you.
Right.
But that could be once a year versus your initial every 4 to 6 weeks depending on the area you're having done for maybe 6 to 8 times.
Right. And so versus if you are a lighter hair color, darker hair color, how does that affect treatment and longevity, I guess?
Well, the good news is that in the areas we shave, in particular, often those hairs are darker even if you're blonde. So blonde hair is not going to be a target for a laser that targets dark.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to think about the color of the hair that you're treating.
Okay. Typical, I guess, now on different body parts, is that lend to how often you have to have treated?
Yes, that's a really good question.
Okay.
So the face with its cell turnover and just the way it heals and the type of hair growing on it, first of all, it has to be dark. So if you have a coarse, wiry gray hair on your chin, it's not going to respond. You need to catch them when they're dark. Okay. But anyway, just because of the pattern of cell turnover and on the face, it's quicker than other parts of the body, and they tend to be hormonal on the face. Those tend to be treated more often, more towards every 4 weeks, whereas if it's in the underarms, the axilla we call them, or in the bikini area, that tends to be more like every 6 to 8 weeks because it's just slower turnover. And this is all to do with the growth cycle of the hair too.
Right. Now, does it depend on the coarseness of hair, or does that play a role in it as well?
Yeah, so on a good laser, you can adjust the energy. You can also adjust the time over which the energy is being administered. And so all those things can be played around with depending on the coarseness and how dark it is and all of that. And at what stage in your treatment you are. Because right at the beginning, when
Yes.
you haven't had treatment, there's going to be a lot of dark to target. And
Right.
then as you get towards the end of your treatment, there's going to be less to treat. And you're going to turn up the energy and change the pulse width, that we call it, the time over which the energy is delivered.
Have you had laser yourself? Can you talk from your own experience regarding laser?
Goodness. I feel like the light was shining down on me the first day I had laser hair removal. It's life-changing.
Right.
And it sounds so silly, but people with hair issues,
Right.
especially for girls, as a teenager, you're cowering in lack of self-esteem, and then to have something like that, like
Right.
excess hair,
It definitely plays
it's a
on your
big
confidence.
deal. It's a big deal.
So speaking of that, can an age, like say a 12-year-old, can a
Yeah.
12-year-old have laser hair removal?
So we always do a consultation ahead of time, and of course with a 12-year-old, their parent needs to come with them. But yes, we'll treat 12-year-olds. They need to be assessed though, because it does hurt.
Right.
But if they are self-conscious enough that maybe they're in gymnastics or dance or something like that, and they are so embarrassed and they've been made fun of,
Right.
these little girls or young ladies
Yes.
will be willing for it to hurt. You can you can go and buy some topical numbing
Right.
from
Right.
shoppers, or
Yeah, just like with
and just
the
put it
ear
on.
piercing, yes.
Yeah, and
That's
then
a good
that'll
point.
help. But I would say start with a small area. But it depends on the person. But yes, we would treat a 12-year-old if we assess them to be competent to make that decision with their parent.
And I think that's, confidence for a young person, a young, boy or girl, but a young girl definitely, if she's in sports and having to wear certain things,
Yeah.
and she has the issue of a lot of hair already
Yes.
at a young age, that definitely is something that should be considered to help it, because it's very, it's not surgery, it's very safe.
Yeah.
And if it can help with
Changes their life.
it changes their life. Interesting. If you're someone like myself who has never had laser, and I am out there trying to discover a place to go to, what do I look for?
Well, one thing that you should ask is, what kind of laser do you have? Is it a laser or is it a light?
Okay.
Because if it's a light,
Yes.
it will be cheaper,
Right.
won't work as well, and
Less
that's
effective.
Yeah, it's less effective because it's going to be a range of wavelengths. Remember we talked about light versus laser? If it's an intense pulse light or a broadband light, it's going to have a range of wavelengths in that energy instead of that one that's going to target the dark. And so it'll kind of sprinkle the area with energy and not quite get the hair follicles properly, and you just
Right.
won't get good results.
Right.
So ask if it's a laser or a light, and what kind of laser is it?
So I would assume that there's a different cost associated with that. So that might also tip someone off to.
If you go for the less expensive place that's possibly using a light, you're just not going to get good results, and you end up spending more.
More money because you're
Yeah.
going more often.
Yeah, you want to so the best ones for Caucasian skin and dark hair would be an Alexandrite or an 810 diode laser. I mean,
Okay.
that's a lot of mumbo jumbo talk, but also, if you have darker skin, it doesn't mean that game over, you can't do it. You just need to go somewhere that has a laser that is going to be able to handle
Right, the
your
strength.
pigment in your skin as well and not burn you.
Right.
So with darker skin, you want to get a 1064 nanometer laser like ND-YAG. Those are some of the words that you would maybe want to
Okay,
ask
okay.
about if you're trying to safely target darker skin and the hair.
Is there pain associated?
Yes, yes, it hurts. But we have different things at our clinic. So we apply a cooling gel,
Okay.
and we also have a Zimmer cooler, it's called, and we can actually blow cold air onto the area, so it helps. I mean, this is so worth it. It
Yes,
doesn't matter.
exactly. It's another one of those
Yeah.
things that short-term pain
Totally.
for long-term
And
gain.
if you've gone and had waxing,
Yes.
that's not fun.
Yes.
And the thing about waxing is you have to let it grow in.
Right.
So you feel like a Neanderthal for how long? Because you have to let it grow in for, like, I'm a hairy person, and
Right.
the few times I did my legs, I was disgusted with
Yes.
how much hair I actually
Yes.
had when I wasn't shaving for 6
Right.
or 8 weeks.
Right.
So at least with laser hair removal, we want you to have shaved the area a couple of days before,
Right.
just so that,
You're not a hairy.
yeah, so you don't have to go around like a Neanderthal
Right.
for 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay, so I guess now if you are someone who has more hair versus someone who has less, does that automatically mean that you're going to need more treatment, or is it just typically how your hair grows and your response to it?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just, if someone's thinking, oh, well, I'll only need this amount of treatment, it might.
Just think you're going to have to do it a little bit forever.
Okay.
If you do have an underlying hormonal imbalance that's unchecked and not treated, there's something called polycystic ovaries, where you've got excessive response to testosterone, which is a male hormone, has to do with hair, is one of its things that it does. You're going to still respond to the laser, but you're going to be more stubborn, and that you might need more treatment for maintenance.
Gotcha.
It'll still help you.
Is there a better time, we're coming into bikini season. Is there a better time to do it? I would imagine this is something that you're not going to want to do.
Well, you don't want to have a tan because a tan is pigment, right?
Oh,
you have
of course.
more
Yes.
pigment in your skin. The laser will be more likely to burn you, so it'll have to be turned
Right.
down if you have a
Right.
tan. So then
Yes.
it won't be,
As effective.
yeah. So then you're not getting the hair follicles as well either.
Interesting. All right. So fall, winter,
Yes,
good
perfect time.
perfect time to do
Yeah.
it. What is the cost associated with laser?
It depends on the area.
Right. So it's not a one size fits
A
all.
man's back is going to probably cost the most.
Right.
Legs, depending on if you're doing your whole leg or not, those
Okay.
will cost more.
Okay.
Um,
So it's definitely area based.
yes.
Okay.
Also, if a person is having treatment with a light, back to that question, I just thought of this. If you're having that low grade, not strong enough energy delivered to that area, it could actually stimulate hair growth. So,
Oh.
yeah, it just comes back to making sure that they have good equipment
Right.
and they know what they're doing.
Exactly. So experience, look for the type of laser that they're using, and not always associating lower cost with a better result, because
You get what you pay for.
you get what you pay for.
Yep.
Yep, that's certainly something that I have learned. So,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I think that concludes this episode of Be the Best Version of You regarding laser. And thank you. Thank you. It's always wonderful talking to you.
Yeah, my pleasure.